So today we're going to be looking at the Horizon Initiative by the Exploring series. As always, I'm going to be leaving a link to the original video and channel down in the description below, so go ahead and make sure that you check them out. So I think I've only heard these people, I think if they're people, one time. And then the rest was in the comments due to suggestions and all that. And we're just going to go ahead and get started to the actual video because I have no idea of what to make of them. But before we do, don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me a lot. Hit that notification bell right there. You get notified every time I do upload. Sometimes I'll upload twice a day. Now working on them whenever I can, and releasing them at some point the next day. That way, there's always a daily video to watch at your leisure. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and see what the Horizon Initiative is all about.
The Horizon Initiative. Despite its roots in cosmic horror and science fiction, the SCP universe has quite a fair share of religious-related content. There are religious anomalies, both original and connected to real-world religions, original religious groups, such as the Sarkic cults, and there are groups connected to real-world religions, such as the Horizon Initiative. Since there are groups of interest involving practically any mindset or belief system you can think of, it's not a big surprise that the major religions of the world would have some hand in anomalies. The Horizon Initiative gives us another unique perspective into the world of SCPs, and, well, as usual, I won't be able to give you a complete view of that perspective. I'll provide a good start. In the late 1960s, a number of influential groups within the main three Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, came together to form the Horizon Initiative, as a response to the spread of anomalies across the world. Although the three religions have their differences, the group
To the anomalies across the world. So, did they know about, like, SCPs and all that? Or did they work with the Foundation? Or were they just the kind of a special group at that time that were told about SCPs? Maybe from the SCP Foundation? Because as far as I know, the only ones who really knew were the other groups of interest. And, well, I mean, technically, this is a group of interest as well. So, but also just from, would be high-ranking officials from, like, different governments all over the world. So, I'm curious to know how exactly these come into play, which I feel like he's about to explain right now.
group found common ground in their animosity towards other religious groups of interest, namely the Church of the Broken God, the Sarkic cults, Fifthism, and the Church of the Second Hightoth. The Horizon Initiative see each of these groups as great threats, and utilize any means at their disposal to combat them. The elimination of these religious groups is only one of their goals, however, as their primary goal is either the safekeeping or destruction of various anomalous objects, relics, and artifacts, depending on the nature of the object. Typically, any anomaly that is antithetical to their belief system is destroyed, and any others are collected and safeguarded. The Horizon Initiative is led by a tribunal, 3 leaders each representing a sub-faction of the organization. Currently, Samuel is the leader of the Sons of Shammai, Adnan is the leader of Atiba al-Kitab, and Bernard is the leader of the Ordinus Occulti Luminis. Due to the inherent strife present in the varying beliefs of the initiative's members, however, the organization is a bit fractured. Within the initiative, many members are part of one of the 3 main corps, each responsible for different duties. The Scribe Corps consists of librarians, researchers, archivists, and clerical staff working to analyze the vast amounts of religious texts and documentation collected by the initiative. Their primary project concerns the universal texts, essentially religious documents relating to the history and doctrine of religious groups and anomalies. Basically, they're working on creating a new Bible to unify the entire Horizon Initiative in a single belief system. The Shepherd...
I feel like that might be a little tricky, considering how exactly would they combine them, because I feel like there's going to be friction, possibly, and then I feel like it would just create a lot of issues, and then, I mean, if they did manage to combine it, I mean, I guess that would be good, I mean, for them, right, living in harmony, but I don't think that's something that is just going to happen like that. It's probably going to take quite a bit of time, right? I mean, because you got people who've been believing this their whole life, but also, curious to know who, like, he said that they have I don't know if he said animosity. I don't know if that's the right word, but they're at least trying to take out or wipe certain groups of interest, like the Sarkics, Church of the Broken God, and I think there was two other ones that I haven't even heard of. The fifth, or the fifth, or in any case, and then there was another one. I just completely forgot the name, but I wonder how they view the SCP Foundation, the GOC, Serpent's Hand, or if they even know of them yet. I mean, because I would assume they at least know the SCP Foundation, possibly, but I have, there's not any certainty as of yet.
Core comprise a wide range of Horizon Initiative members, functioning as the basic agents of the organization throughout the world. They provide intelligence, facilitate relic recovery, and occasionally undertake combat missions against hostile forces. They typically work in pairs, living undercover as civilians, or operating as community leaders to establish relations with other groups. Shepherds receive assignments from the district heads of the Corps, or receive special orders from the Tribunal. Most Shepherds operate loosely with anomalous objects, freely using them in both combat and research situations, and some veteran Shepherds will carry around a dozen minor anomalous objects on their person. Finally, there are the Wolves, officially known as Project Malleus. The Wolves are the combat forces of the Initiative, made up of the most zealous and aggressive members of the organization, led.
I don't know why that reminded me of the Black Templars. If you've been watching the 40K videos, I mean, I feel like you would probably think the same, right? Black Templars, maybe. Damn, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I just kind of woke up a little while ago, but zealous. I've been hearing that word specifically a lot this past month. Watching not necessarily too much on the SCP Foundation, but watching on the 40K universe.
Led by Henry de Montfort. The other groups within the Initiative are generally intimidated by the Wolves, with the Shepherds especially disliking them, leading the Wolves to refer to them as sheep. The Wolves kill and die without question, and are first in line to combat the other anomalous religious organizations. Speaking of which, it's clear that the Horizon Initiative is openly hostile to any of the other religious groups, such as the Church of the Broken God, and use.
Okay, so it seems like that viciousness, I want to say, is only towards the other ones that are religious in a sense. So I'm assuming the fifth and the one that he had mentioned before are religious in some nature, and that was it. The wolves. I also, I mean, I'm assuming they're using anomalous objects or things to kind of help them combat whatever it is they're going to be combating. SCPs, maybe the people from their organizations. But I didn't really hear as to why, or because I'm assuming they would have to be pretty damn good to go against SCP, just in general. I mean, because if you think about it, you got MTFs that go after a lot of the times just one SCP, and I didn't really hear. I mean, obviously, it's something I probably had to look in the documents as far as how many deep are they rolling in a sense? Are they rolling in squads? Are they going solo? I mean, I did hear something about two pairs working together, but I think that was for a different group or a different category that he was mentioning. But would definitely like to know what exactly are they using at their disposal to carry out their mission.
Any of the anomalies at their disposal in efforts to wipe them out. As for other groups, though, the Horizon Initiative is not quite as bloodthirsty. They are on good relations with the Mana Charitable Foundation, a non-profit humanitarian organization devoted to using anomalies to help those in need around the world. They also support many cells of the Serpent's Hand and non-violent anarchists, who often supply minor anomalous objects to the Initiative. Officially, the Initiative has truces with both the SCP Foundation and the GOC, but in reality these truces are constantly on the verge of breaking, mainly due to strife caused by the Initiative, as you can imagine. They also occasionally deal with Marshall, Carter, and Dark, but typically regard them as untrustworthy. Although not openly hostile, the initiative doesn't have great relations with the ORIA, the Chaos Insurgency, paratech groups such as the Anderson Robotics, Gamers Against Weed, Are We Cool Yet, and Herman Fuller's Circus of the Disquieting, primarily due to differing views on anomalies and human life. In short, the Horizon Initiative doesn't play well with others to a great degree, but they are willing to occasionally put aside their differences for a greater cause. The best example of this is perhaps related to SCP-2217, as the initiative is currently working alongside the Foundation, the GOC, and the Church of the Broken God to combat the Sarkic cults and prevent a catastrophic outbreak of SCP-610 on December 31st, 2019. Speaking of SCPs, though, let's move on to looking at a few anomalous objects that the Horizon Initiative has been involved with. SCP-475 is a soap sculpture depicting an unidentified pope, bearing the inscription, "Cleanliness is next to godliness." When placed into water and then applied to human skin, 100% of foreign contaminants are removed, including dead skin cells, perspiration, bodily parasites, mold, dirt, and detergents. That's pretty handy, and would probably fall under beneficial SCPs if not for the secondary effect, which triggers when the soap is used by a member of an organized religion. These subjects report greater mental clarity and greater adherence to church doctrine after using the soap, with the effects increasing in intensity the longer the subject uses the soap. After enough time, the soap will proceed to change all bodies of water within a 5-meter radius into an equivalent liquid considered holy by the subject's religion. For Catholics, this liquid...
Wait, holy as in like holy water, or just considered holy in a sense? But I honestly thought they were gonna say that, hey, this is really good, but maybe if you use too much or something like that, that it was gonna have some kind of negative effect. But it seems purely positive. And we also did see that at the very least they do have a, I guess, what would you call it, a non-aggression pact against the GOC and the SCP Foundation. Although it's like he did mention that it's kind of tricky every now and then, and that it's because of the Horizon Initiative, but we at least see that they're willing to work at least with a few other groups, I guess, for like the greater good. Surprised me though with the Church of the Broken God. So, I mean, considering that they're really more vicious towards other religious groups or groups of interest.
Liquid might be chrism oil, but for more anomalous religions, it might change into machine oil for members of the Church of the Broken God, or blood for Sarkics. Other anomalous effects might also manifest in the subject, as one Catholic subject displayed stigmata in their hands, wounds corresponding to Jesus Christ's crucifixion wounds, while a member of the Pentecostal Church began speaking in tongues. A member of the Broken Church developed symptoms of SCP-217 infection, the machine virus, while a fifth member melted into candle wax. The soap sculpture was actually given to the SCP Foundation by certain insubordinate members of the Horizon Initiative, who believed that the sculpture only led to more and more infighting within the organization, and a breakdown of unity. Another anomalous object that the Horizon Initiative gave up to the Foundation is SCP-2121, a noose composed of a variety of fleshy tissues, including ligaments, tendons, portions of an intestine, and a 1.3 meter long tongue. When used to hang someone, the individual will remain conscious for roughly 3.5 minutes longer than expected, and will remain capable of speech until loss of consciousness. They will wail in shock and despair over the apparent deaths of a variety of divine figures, curse an unidentified and unnamed deific figure, and plea for mercy from the same figure. After death, the body will desiccate, with all bodily fluids except for blood pooling beneath the subject, and their blood flowing upwards, where it is absorbed by the noose. If at least one person is not hanged every lunar month, the noose emits a chaotic noise consisting of screaming, moans of pain, and panicked vocalizations in unknown languages, steadily increasing to 137 decibels over 24 hours. This sound can be heard up to 1.7 kilometers away, even by deaf individuals or by those inside a soundproof room. Religious individuals who hear the sound will become increasingly despondent and will attempt to commit suicide as soon as possible, preferably using SCP-2121. The Horizon Initiative gave it up as they couldn't destroy it and couldn't abide having to sacrifice individuals to it, something the Foundation doesn't have qualms with. The Horizon Initiative is also connected to a couple 001 proposals. The Broken God proposal, which I discussed in my Ouroboros series, and the...
First of all, with the Ouroboros series, I've seen a couple people mention it, but it is plus 3 hours long, at least the full story. Maybe I'll get around to it, but obviously going to be broken up into chunks. If I was doing like maybe 20 or 30 minutes, it'd be probably roughly 4 to 6 videos, if not more. I mean, eventually though, I'll at least watch it, or I could watch it like off screen, and then kind of take my own notes on it, and then I guess like I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but it's definitely something I want to check out because I just heard amazing things about it.
The 36 proposal. This proposal describes 36 individuals of varying ages, genders, and ethnicities. When any anomalous item or phenomena is brought within close proximity of one of these individuals, the anomalous quality is nullified. When multiple members of the 36 are brought together, the range and intensity of this nullified field is increased. Additionally, when any of the 36 die, multiple anomalous events will occur, along with the sudden appearance of varying dangerous entities.
So they can negate SCP things, right? But now, is this? Damn it! See, this is also what I really would want to see because, for example, the whole lot of things like say, some famous ones, the Plague Doctor, would his touch be able to kill you? Would 682 be able to fully regenerate or fully heal? Would what am I thinking of? 096, would he be able to? Would you actually be able to look at his face? Right? I hope I got that number right. 106, would he be able to teleport outside of his little pocket dimension? I don't know. Also, if these, besides that capability, are these just like regular people, or are they like kind of like souped up? I don't know if you're trying to imply that with this picture, like they have other maybe individual anomalous abilities. I don't know.
Examples include sudden rainfall containing numerous fatal pathogens, massive walking creatures, and spontaneous ritualistic cannibalism in a widespread area. Civilian casualties after each of these events are generally tremendous, reaching into the tens or hundreds of thousands. After the death of one of the 36, they are supposedly reincarnated as newborn babies, although the Foundation has yet to prove this. It's believed that once all 36 individuals are brought together, their nullified field will reach across the cosmos, removing all anomalous properties from existence and making the world young again.
Well, then why don't they do that? I mean, because the fact that there's different realities, right? They've got to be in every single one. At least in a scenario that this is the actual SCP-001, because I know there's multiple ones. But wouldn't that just complete what the SCP Foundation is trying to do? I mean, well, not technically because they're trying to secure them, contain, protect. But it would get rid of all the SCPs. Now, I don't know if that would include them as well, but I feel like that's a big, I don't know if it'd be considered a Deus Ex Machina type thing, or, I don't know, it's a nice way for at least them to be like, hey, we just got rid of all the SCPs.
The Horizon Initiative is heavily invested in the protection and gathering of all 36 of these individuals, believing them to be sent by God to save the world. The concept of 36 righteous individuals with a unique purpose in life is rooted in Jewish myth.
Actually, I just thought of this. What if they don't even know that they have these abilities, right? What if they're just random individual looking people and you never know, and then that's why maybe you can't really like bring them together, right? because you don't know who they are. They could be your neighbor. They could be a family member. Um, yeah, and then they don't even know, but they just know that it's supposed that that's how ever many people they are somehow, uh, or maybe I don't know. But the main thing is essentially, what if the ones who do have this capability don't even know that they can negate SCP anomalies?
The first 5 of the 36 were recovered by the Foundation after finding them in the care of 3 individuals who are believed to be the founders of the initiative. A letter was later found by the Foundation that was apparently written by the initiative's tribunal. I'll read it in its entirety, due to it giving some good flavor for the organization. How do you explain to someone that the world is dying, and that only they may save it? We have often asked ourselves that question during the 60 or so years since that fateful day in Jerusalem, and entertained different notions on the most effective ways to do so. 50 years ago, we were Elijah, full of bluster and wrath, calling upon our less faithful brothers to rally to the 36th cause, using fear to further our goals. 30 years ago, we were Isaiah, seeking to strengthen our less courageous brothers, that with the conviction that our cause was just, speaking of the greatness of our task, using their newfound confidence to build an order on which our goals could stand. 10 years ago, we were Jeremiah, weeping at the doors of the world's greatest powers, pleading for them to listen, for we now understood that this task was beyond our power alone. And now we are Jonah, and are lost for words. How do we make you understand what is at stake, when the only way you could see is to let everything your organization ever did go for the word of 3 old men? That is too much to ask even of righteous men, and we are not yet certain you are such. All we can ask is that you listen. You have seen what the 36 can do. You have seen the way the world unravels around them, but you do not understand why. You see them as just another entry in your great book of diseases, a threat to the wholeness of the body you keep, the world. It is not so. The items and phenomena you keep hidden from the world are not diseases, they are symptoms, and you are not keeping the world healthy by masking them when the underlying condition is ignored. The problem is that this condition is chronic. The world is simply old, and the 36, they might make it young again. For them to be able to do so, you will be required to make the ultimate sacrifice. You must relinquish your identity. You were made to secure, and we are asking you to trust in the unproven. You were made to contain, and we are asking you to release. You were meant to protect, and we are asking you to leave the world vulnerable. It is an impossible request, this we know, but you must fulfill it if there is to be any hope for us. Release the 36. Let them come together. Let them do what needs to be done, and we shall.
When he says release 36, so the SCP Foundation has them in, I guess, custody, right? Just the way the writing is, it's seeming like, I mean, obviously he mentioned every single little section: secure, contain, protect. That they want them to do the complete opposite of it, and it seems like keeping the world vulnerable. I'm not sure what he means by that. Like, if he wants to, I guess, keep the world vulnerable, because the way the SCP Foundation views every single SCP is that it can have some kind of threat to the world in some form or manner. Although I know there are safe ones and even ones that can help them, or that just don't really do much of anything that could be considered horrible. But okay, so at the farthest I know is that they're, at least it seems like they're keeping them in custody, and that they want them to release them. At least maybe some of the ones they have. I don't know. They mentioned 5. I remember hearing 5. Damn, I'm throwing my mind for a circle. Okay, let's just keep going now.
Shall follow. Help 3 old men make the world young again. Don't let it die. Depending on how you feel about different 001 proposals, you can take or leave the 36 proposal as being part of the Horizon Initiative's goals. All in all, the Horizon Initiative is not currently a massively detailed group of interest, with only a little over a dozen SCPs relating to the group, many of them giving only the briefest of mentions, and a handful of tales. The initiative provides a unique perspective in the SCP universe, though, struggling with traditional doctrine in the wake of the existence of anomalies, and also a dichotomy between the rigid scientific approach of the Foundation and the faith based approach of the initiative. Looking at a group such as the Horizon Initiative brings up a lot of thoughts about the nature of religion and the existence of numerous deific entities within the SCP universe. While it would be easy to see how someone knowledgeable of these anomalies and entities would question their beliefs, the members of the Horizon Initiative keep the faith.
Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. Now, just that last little section where you said, as far as them keeping the belief, right? I mean, the way they're just looking at SCPs, like, I was thinking about it too as well during the actual video. Like, do they view these SCPs as maybe demons in a sense? Maybe tests from their religion? Maybe, I don't know, like, did they view them as the same way in terms of the SCP Foundation that, hey, these are just weird things that are there, right? And honestly, I thought they would have been working at least at the very minimum, maybe more with the SCP Foundation. Even though they did say there in that letter that they wanted them to do the complete opposite of what they were doing, right? I mean, I can definitely see why they wouldn't work with some of the other groups of interest besides the Serpentan, who was giving them kind of also at times these anomalous SCPs that could help benefit them in their fight against the other religious groups. Now, the part where it ended up talking about the sorry, I was just looking at the comments right now, and somebody commented on this video. I swear, dude, the SCP Foundation comes up with the most badass names: Chaos Insurgency, Serpentan, Horizon Initiative. I'm like, oh, I just saw it. I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. But and it was it. There's one about like shark punchers or something like that. It's crazy. In any case, he did mention as well that there's only, I think he said a dozen or a little over a dozen of articles specifically focusing on, or documents specifically focusing on the Horizon Initiative, and it was more mentioned. So obviously we didn't know there's not a whole lot of information to go on at the moment. So I would assume that these guys, or the way they're written, is still pretty new. I mean, probably at the latest, maybe within the last couple of years. Now, with that, I was thinking that that's probably the reason why I didn't get too much information as far as like their groups when they call them. Okay, so I remember the wolves, the shepherds, scribes, and I think those were the only ones. I mean, if there's more, that always feel free to correct me. But so I'm always curious to know like exactly how certain groups of interest in the SCP Foundation, in the SCP series or world universe, how they always take on SCPs. Like, what's their main goal, right? I mean, SCP Foundation does it with the MTFs, the GOC. Literally, the main goal is to just kill them instead of really trying to capture them. Although we saw that can also have its backfires and whatnot. But we'd be very curious to know if there's maybe documents on those groups, the wolves, the sheep, and the scribes, or shepherds. Shepherds, not sheep. Sheep, they were called by the wolves. So, but in any case, though, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like it. It helps me improve the channel. If you're curious to see what's coming up next, check the description down below. You can see a list of about 5 videos. From top to bottom, it's gonna be how I view them. Until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.